Showtime. Oh, man. And we're back.
And we're back.
And we're back.
And we're back.
And we're better than ever.
Yes, we are.
We just keep getting better.
Better and better.
You know what? Just for you guys. The things that we do for you guys.
You're welcome. You can thank us later.
Never stop improving.
Welcome back to the Of Ink and Leather podcast. I'm your host, Vily.
And I'm your host, Mark Schlahovsky.
And we're glad to have you here with us.
We're very glad to have you here with us. And as you guys can see, we definitely upped our tea game over here.
Yeah, it's no longer Lipton.
Yeah.
It's Ahmad.
It's Ahmad tea.
Ahmad tea from London.
We got ourselves...
What you got this time? You got blackcurrant?
I have blackcurrant burst.
You know, I prefer the raspberry one actually.
Yeah, we did some test trials with the tea earlier.
That's
and
great.
We got raspberry Ahmad tea and then blackcurrant tea.
I'm a bigger fan of the raspberry, actually.
I'm a bigger fan of the Lipton, actually.
Leave.
No, I'm completely joking. This tea is actually phenomenal.
With a
Very
little dash
good.
of honey. Yeah.
With a little dash of Ukrainian honey. That? Yes?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah?
Do you know Americans, it's a funny thing, Americans do not really drink tea. If you do drink tea and
that's
you're an
true.
American, please tell us that we're wrong, but they don't really drink hot tea.
I mean, they do drink tea, but not to the same extent as like a Slavic household
No,
does.
but they'll drink iced tea or whatever. That's about it. They don't really drink hot tea.
Well, I mean, they do. Actually, that is kind of funny. I remember at Starbucks, I was ordering something, and I ordered tea, and she like looked at me kind of funny. She's like, "Do you want green tea?" I'm like, "What other tea do you have?" And she like looked around, like looked for it and stuff.
Looks in the cupboard or under the sink or something like right next to the rat poison.
Oh, wait a second.
Oh.
Funny
Dust
to see
it
this
off
here.
real quick.
Put it in the hot water. No, it's like in every Slavic like discussion, like late night discussion, you sit down with some semichki, you sit down with some sunflower seeds,
Yeah.
and a nice hot cup of tea.
Nice hot cup of tea. But yeah, if you
Black
have not
currant tea.
experienced, I would highly recommend that you go out and try it.
I would
you
say
know how Americans do prepare their tea? They throw it in the harbor.
they throw it in the harbor.
Boston Harbor.
Wait a
get
second, yeah. Wait
history
a
jokes.
second. Big old history jokes.
Mm-hmm.
The blackcurrant is good. The blackberry, blackcurrant. Do you remember the blackberry? The little BlackBerry phone. I remember my
I
cousin
have an
had
iPhone actually.
one. Okay, get your iPhone out of here. Is your iPhone on airplane mode, by the way?
Yes, there's a little plane in the corner.
There's a little plane in the corner.
Little plane
The
in the corner.
The BlackBerry never had
So
an
we'll
airplane mode.
We will not be bothered.
Yes.
But the reason I have my phone on the table, which is not typical, is because I forgot my journal. I forgot my iPad. I didn't forget it. It's at home.
Oh, okay? So you left it at home.
I left it at home.
You
See,
didn't forget it at your house. You just left it.
I
at your
left
house.
it. I planned for the day that, I would go and run our errands. We would go to IKEA. And after IKEA, I'd be able to come home and then head over to the studio after stopping by at home and grabbing everything that I need. And so,
That's the
unfortunately,
sound.
you know how things go at IKEA. It's a maze there, and it's a whole labyrinth,
It is a whole labyrinth.
and you will not be getting out on your timetable.
IKEA is definitely a labyrinth.
Yeah. So
Definitely say
and
that.
that's why we are here now.
And that's the sound of disappointment.
Is that what you brought?
To the table?
What'd you bring to the table
What
today?
did I bring to the table? Well, for starters, I did bring the sound of my disappointment. But also, something that will be stemming into our discussion here in a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yes. I brought bread.
Oh, you brought a knife.
I brought bread and a
You
knife.
brought a board.
Which is really heavy.
It's so heavy.
That's what I brought to the table.
That's what you brought to the table.
And I sliced it up for you. Because
Thanks, man.
honestly, at the end of the day, you are what you eat. You are what you eat. What did you bring to the table?
I don't know how to take it.
Oh, you don't have to take it. Well, here,
You calling me bread?
have a slice of bread. Oh man, just completely disrespected all my bread that I completely sliced perfectly for you there.
It's delicious. Thanks.
It is delicious. So, Vily.
Hey, don't be eating on the podcast.
Mm-mm. Just one bite. What did you bring to the table today?
What did I bring to the table today? Well, good question.
It's not gonna beat that. That was really good.
It's gonna beat that.
Sure?
Throw out a number.
Throw out a number.
Throw out a number.
Between 1 and 2. 2. Hashtag TBT.
Hashtag TBT.
Even though today's
You're wrong.
Friday.
It's 6.
Why do you Why do you have 6 light bulbs?
I brought light bulbs to the table today, guys. Today we're sponsored by IKEA light bulbs. And Ahmad tea.
Ahmad tea. You see, these
Why
aren't just
6?
Why 6?
They're
and
LED bulbs.
And why IKEA light bulbs?
Because actually they were on sale. So heads up right there. You know, IKEA sells light bulbs which are $1 a piece. These LEDs. And I was like,
that's
dude,
a good deal.
That's a great deal because you go to any other place, you know, or try to order somewhere, they're gonna be like $3 a pop.
$3 plus shipping.
I saw that. I was like, dude, this is great. I went to the store today. They're half off. They're 50 cents a piece. I'm like, dude, $7 and I could light up the house. So
50 cents a piece.
these lamps behind us right here, they 3 light bulbs a piece. We got to make sure we have extras.
That is crazy. 50 cents a piece.
And that's why I brought a bunch of light bulbs, but they will tie into the conversation at some point.
I hope so.
Yeah.
For 50 cents?
50 cents.
That can tie into any conversation right there.
That's right.
Anytime, you feel like you're lacking in conversation, just say, hey, IKEA is selling the light bulbs for 50 cents. Right there.
Right there.
But I do believe that it will tie nicely into our discussion.
I think so.
So
what are we talking about today?
what are we talking about today? Today we're going to be discussing virtue and all of the complexities that tie with it. And all the light bulbs that tie
And all the light bulbs that tie into it. This is for you.
Oh, it's for
No,
me.
it's actually.
Oh, wait. I could use some light bulbs.
Nah.
Today we're discussing virtue.
What is virtue?
What is virtue?
What is virtue? Webster's dictionary defines virtue as
The
I'm not-
classic commencement speech
I'm
of
not
every
gonna do that.
graduation.
You hear that at every graduation, whatever valedictorian comes out and they're going to be like, Webster's dictionary defines success.
Yeah, it's like, dear friends and family,
Friends and family,
thank you so much for being here.
they asked me to speak on success today. Webster's dictionary defines success as...
Success. Webster's dictionary defines it as...
We're not doing that.
Oh, yeah, we're not doing that. But
Definitely not.
But virtue does stem from the Greek, and just stems from the Greek moral excellence. I guess that's how we're
Moral excellence.
moral excellence, goodness, the standards,
Goodness.
the goodness.
My goodness.
My goodness, the pinnacle of moral excellence.
What does that look like?
Well,
That's such a theoretical, that's such an abstract idea, not like light bulbs or...
how can it be the pinnacle?
How can you be the pinnacle?
How can one be the pinnacle?
Hmm.
What does it mean for one to be virtuous?
Oh, let's start off simple, right? What do you think virtue is, or what does it mean to be virtuous? What does it look like?
I feel like, and once again, we're gonna go a little bit deeper into this, but for one to be virtuous, it's like the golden mean. It's like the average of.
Are you telling me I have to be average?
No.
Yes,
listen.
I'm the top of the bell curve, guys.
No. So obviously, like within each, there's like a bunch of categories. For one to be courageous, for one to be brave. All these are virtues,
Can virtues differ from person to person, or I guess, because you're talking about a table of sorts,
Sure.
right? But
sure.
virtue can be defined like so many different ways, and there's so many people who look at virtue differently. Like we have Aristotle, which we're diving into right now a little bit.
Yeah.
There's one way to look at it.
Yeah. But I feel like across the board, it needs to be standardized. Because for you to be flexible with such a thing, then, it all falls apart.
Moral relativism.
More relativism and it for one to say that you are the pinnacle of moral excellence, there needs to be a standardization, or else everything just falls apart. So although people would claim, different things, and would claim different parts within themselves to be virtuous, I feel like at the end of the day, like there needs to be standardization. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the first question: what does it mean for one to be virtuous? The average of all these virtues, and just striving for that
Well,
pinnacle.
Is a virtue, can you say that you either have virtue or you do not? Because, like, then you take a look, and when you look up virtues, you're going to get a list of so many different things, and you're like, well, those are all characteristics. Are they virtues, or what is this? Because, like, it's such a fluid thing. We're talking about having, like, this absolutism of sorts, but it's such a hard concept to grasp in a way.
It is a pretty abstract concept.
Because, like, if we're talking, virtue itself is like, can you have it or can you not?
Yeah.
Or can I say, well, actually, let's take a look. Here's a bunch of virtues.
Do you have all of this?
Do you
or
have
not?
bravery? Do you have
It's so.
wit? Do you have charisma? Do you have these things?
Do you take things
We're
in
like,
moderation?
well, are those
Yeah.
virtues or are those characteristics? And you're like, well, I don't know. Are they? Or what are they?
It's a very abstract
And
concept.
so a person can have one thing, but they can be lacking in another. And I guess it's interesting because I guess that's where the average does kind of
Yeah.
come in.
I feel like nobody is, like, obviously nobody is perfect.
Nobody is perfect.
Nobody's perfect. And, everybody strives to be perfect. Everybody strives to have that golden mean. But, can we ever really fully achieve the golden mean? It would be difficult. But does that mean that we do not strive for it nonetheless?
No.
Of course not.
It's better to keep on going and run the race and make sure that you're, making progress and becoming a better person and
Of
striving
course.
to something
Of course.
instead of just sitting by
So
and
often.
letting.
So often we see, like, we look at other people and you say, okay, this person's not perfect. I'm going to be just like them and live out my life just like them. But it all falls apart. It all falls apart. You base your morals and everything off of something that is never fully whole. But once again, at the end of the day, we still have to strive for it. And it's something that we can't throw out the window.
So,
Yeah.
leading into this, we're talking about, like, having virtue and striving for it. The question comes about then, where do we get our virtue from?
Where do we derive our virtue from?
From what? From who? Where is it? Like, is it we reach into thin and we're like, hey, I got
it.
guys, I got
I
a
got it
courage
now.
today. It was on sale at IKEA.
It was 50 cents at IKEA, feeling good. We definitely derive all of these standards from what we see in other people. What we see in other people, what we watch, what we just surround ourselves with, It's very, and once again, stemming from the bread.
The bread. You brought the bread to the table.
I did bring the bread to the table, and it was delicious.
That was good.
But even going off of that, you are what you eat. You are what you surround yourself with. If you continue to, eat unhealthily, if you continue to indulge in different things, you're going to become fat. You're going to feel unhealthy. You're just not going to be a great person.
So that's in the physical sense, right?
And that's
there.
in the physical sense.
But
But
then-
tying that into
Mhm.
the virtue thing, well, the whole category of virtue, who you surround yourselves with, who you see and you look up to have this pinnacle of moral excellence, is who you're going to end up becoming. What you surround yourself with, what you're going to be just constantly devoted to, what you're constantly being surrounded with, obviously reaps into your life.
So the surroundings,
The
people
surroundings.
that you play into. There's a quote like that, right? I'm probably gonna misquote it, but it's "Show me your friends, and I'll show you your destiny," or something.
Show me your yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Or show me your friends, like your 5 closest friends, and I'll show you who you are.
Yeah, that's the quote right there.
There's different variations of it.
There's different
Yeah.
variations, but each are true, definitely. Because if you have a bunch of friends that are just like
Schmucks.
a bunch of schmucks, a bunch of buffoons, like you're not going to be falling far from the tree. Because that's something, even if you try, even if you try to kind of be your own person, to some extent, what you're surrounding yourself with is what's going to be reaped into your life as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. It kind of leads to this other. I mean, tying into that, my parents, growing up, also like they tried to put that into me, like, hey, no, make sure you have good friends and all these other things.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, obviously, you want the best for your children, but like this one example they used at one point, like if I were to try standing on this table, it would break. I'm just kidding. It's a solid table because
It is pretty
built
solid.
it.
Yeah, it's solidified.
Don't stand on it, please.
Well, yeah, please don't stand on it.
If I were to stand on a table or a chair,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to try to pull you up, it's going to be very difficult. But if I'm still standing on that chair, you can easily pull me off of it. You
True.
can pull me down.
True.
And so, like,
It works both
the
ways.
people that you are trying to potentially, you could say, hey, well, actually, these people that I surround myself with, this environment or whatever, I'm going to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not how it works. You always kind of come down to the average.
Yeah, kind of works both
It's
ways.
easy to bring somebody else down to your level than to rise up to theirs.
Yeah, 100%. And then that kind of just digs into, the whole nature versus nurture thing.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
The whole environment that we surround ourselves with.
I mean, going back to like college, it's been a couple years now since. Yeah, you're knee deep in it. But I took like an intro to psychology course, so I'm by no means a professional psychologist or whatever. But it was interesting, like I was like, this is gonna be a great thing. It'll tie into my major, a good thing to tie in with finance and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And your expectations are here, and like you're getting into this whole other thing because you're thinking like, I'm going to learn how to read people. Like, watch this.
Go ahead.
I know that you have an issue. You have a hole in your heart, and you're trying to fill it.
Oh man, I have a white shirt too. I know who you
Let's
are.
play rock paper scissors real quick. All right. What color is your shirt?
It's white.
Okay. I'm gonna win.
Rock paper scissors shoot.
I knew you were gonna pick scissors.
Jinx.
I thought it would be a lot of psychology games, and for those of you who know,
Yeah.
the rock paper scissors thing. It's like you throw a person off, kind of off balance in a way, and they're kind of on guard, and so like they're more likely to pick scissors. Actually,
Interesting.
yeah, that's an actual.
That's an actual thing.
More like majority of the time, the person is going to pick
Wow.
scissors.
You set me up for that.
I set you up.
That's interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, but I thought psychology was going to be all about that. Like, I'm going to learn how to read people and like all this other stuff. And then you get to class and it's all like this. Actually, here's how your body works. Here is anatomy. Here's all these things. And you're like brain chemicals and all this other stuff. And you're like, dang, it's another science class.
Cringe.
But no, I learned a good bit from it. One of the things which we were just talking about, nature versus nurture. We're talking about, how your environment is going to play a huge influence on how you are going to be as a person. We're talking about like how the friends that you're going to surround yourself with, the people around you in your community are going to, I guess, make up that average of who you are.
Yeah.
But then going back, so like that's nurture. Then there's nature, which leading to this, whether or not a person can be born with a virtue or whether it's something learned, but we'll discuss that in a sec. Psychology is saying that, the sum of a person, like the human experience, who you are, your makeup, is going to be 50%, roughly, 50% actually nature, 50% nurture. Like,
do you really think that it's a 50-50 though?
Good question.
Yeah, I mean,
like I
obviously
said, I'm not an expert,
it's
but
obviously it's very difficult
I
to
think
pinpoint exactly
it can
what
also
it is.
be, it could be different for each person. Let's say you're raised with wolves. I don't know.
You're gonna eventually become.
Who knows? But, like on the average is what it is, 50-50. Law of large numbers and such.
Yeah. 50%,
50%
50% of your innate, things that you've been born into. But
I don't know.
How what is like
does
the
it
true
tie
percentage of the born and
does
bred?
it tie into virtue though? Is it virtue, or is it dealing with like that specific thing within psychology?
Is
there?
virtue an innate thing? or is it something taught through the standards of other people?
Good question. Can I have a sense of morality of sorts when I'm being raised as a, you know, I guess yeah. You think about it, you know. Let's put a scenario here. Let's say that I am raised, you know, faraway land or whatever.
Faraway land.
In a faraway land.
It shows faraway
of
land.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah. 412.
Okay, let's say that I come from not such a great family, for example. Let's say, like, all my life I've been, you know, I guess malnourished, not fed well, like I've possibly going through abuse, whatever else, and like the environment that I have grown up in has not been a good one. Let's say then, you know, school system I've gone into and everything else, everything around me, the environment that has been pressing upon me all these negative things has been teaching me how to live my life in one way. But deep down, let's say I see somebody trip and fall. I see a situation where somebody is getting bullied or something like that, for example. You have, I guess, an empathy that's still kind of innate, right? You still have that empathy. Maybe it's not practiced. Maybe it's not it has not been, you know,
but
practiced,
regardless, it's still there.
but it's still something that is there. Or, you know, like, you know that something is right or wrong. You're not gonna go and murder somebody, because that's kind of like, dude, that goes against this moral code, in addition to the law, obviously. But like, I don't think you need the law to tell you that don't murder somebody. You kind of already have this thing, you know, inside of you that, like, this isn't something good.
Yeah, but it's interesting because like, even like way back in history, you know, we see like the Aztecs doing rituals and still like committing murder, basically, you know, still sacrificing people and doing all these things, you know. But I feel like very interesting
context, I guess. But for them, like, it was something that was good. They're like, oh, we're bringing sacrifice, and so like we need to kill these people, you take out their hearts still beating out of their chests, and throw them bloody down the stairs.
And yet that's what they perceive to be the degree of good.
Yeah,
that is interesting.
It is interesting.
But perhaps, like, even still deep down, you know, they still have this empathy, and they're probably still thinking like, hey, this isn't right. And then seeing from what other people have brought over, you know, obviously everybody else in the other world, you know, we have the Western world, they see what other people are like, they're like, okay, maybe this isn't right, and kind of questioning their own things that they perceive to be good. And they also assimilate it to be what everybody else is, you know?
Globalism. Going to globalism right
and
here.
Westernization.
Yeah? Westernization and globalism. Well, as everything has become more globalized and we're more interconnected than ever.
Now it's like
what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong.
True. I feel like at the end of the day, like, sad to say, you know, I feel like it's like a big funnel almost. You know, like you're pouring oil into your car. It's like a big funnel. Everybody's just kind of like swirling and twirling throughout time, and then finally it kind of like boils down into one single drain. One single thing. And you're right, the whole globalization thing, like, we are more connected now than ever before.
So it's like, who was it? Steinbeck. John Steinbeck, great author. Reading one of his books about his adventure going through America. Actually, I forget what it was called, but like, it's where he and his dog, he like basically builds a custom like truck / RV thing or whatever, so he could travel through America and see it with his dog. And so he's going through, and he says that, you know, you're going to these places where, like, if you go to Amish country, right, they're going to speak differently, they're going to talk differently, and all these things. And they have like this accent. You have this regional thing that's going on, you know, this regionalization.
Yeah.
You can tell somebody's from Jersey.
I'm from the Jersey.
I'm from Jersey.
I drink black currant tea.
What do Jersey people drink? I don't know, dude.
Probably not tea. Anyways, regional.
Regional. Yeah. So he's talking about how like TV and radio has kind of gotten rid of this regional this line where you're like, oh, we're not able to. We're more looking like New Yorkers.
Yeah.
Everybody, because like you take a look at the national news and you take a look at the people we follow and all this other stuff, and now like that was still who knows when Steinbeck was writing this book. It's an old book. Now take it today where we have and
it's crazy how much power is like comes within media, the news, social media, telephones.
We're all watching the same stuff. We're all connecting to the same thing. We're all taking example from the same people and all this other stuff. And so like you're not necessarily, speaking like a Yinzer or like a Jersey or redneck.
It's crazy.
Or whatever, and like the lines are becoming blurred and this globalization is happening.
Mm-hmm. It's even like whenever you're saying like you're on a table and you're up above and there's somebody down below and you're bringing up, it ends up becoming like one average, funneling down into one drain. The globalization.
Interesting aspect. How is globalization going to affect the overall virtue of humanity?
The overarching standardization.
The overall standard of ethics.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Both, would you say that it's more for the good or for the bad?
I don't know. That begs the question then. Do you think that we have less virtue today than we did before?
Do you think that the society as a whole has diminished their sense of virtue?
That's the question.
Yeah.
Are we more virtuous today than the people were 50 years ago? Are we less virtuous now? What standard?
I feel like our standards, once again going with the whole standardization thing, it's definitely become more so where we're trying to make the standards all free flowy and everything, and trying to reorganize ourselves in a way. I feel like just in general, people are trying to redefine, who we must be. We see the things and the people around us, and society as a whole tries to define who we are, But I feel like, to answer your question, I feel like virtue has been lost in the past 50 years.
Think so?
Yeah. Because once again, it's like the whole definition of moral excellence has been always questioned, and then now it's just like, who do we perceive to be good and who do we perceive to be bad? It's lost.
Is my truth different from your truth? Is my good different from your good?
Yeah, now it seems to be like, do what you want, and
let's agree to disagree. And this is, my truth is truth, your truth is truth.
Let your truth be your truth and my truth be my truth. But once again, the whole standardization thing, it kind of needs to be there. Well, yeah. I feel like it has diminished in the past 50 years.
Who was it? C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis had a good quote. So he wrote in his book, The Abolition of Man.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. And all the time, such is the tragicomedy of our situation. We continue to clamor for those very qualities we are rendering impossible. You can hardly open a periodical without coming across the statement that what our civilization needs is more drive, or dynamism, or self-sacrifice, or creativity. In a sort of ghastly simplicity, we remove the organ and demand the function. We make men without chests and expect of them virtue and enterprise. We laugh at honor and are shocked to find traitors in our midst. We castrate and bid the geldings be fruitful.
What do you think?
I think I need more tea.
I think I need more tea. Some more boiling hot water. Do we have more?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
definitely do. But I'm definitely switching to raspberry.
Are you? Oh, I'm heartbroken.
But as far as his quote, as far as this goes, you know, talking about here, he's talking about like how this quote right here: we make men without chests, and we expect from them virtue and enterprise. We are laughing at qualities. You know, we are talking about how, like, okay, there is no absolute truth, there is no absolute good, there is no, you know, there is no standard, and we're talking
Are you
about
absolutely sure about that?
yeah,
Yeah.
we're like "Pfft, actually, like
Ashley.
Ashley,
Yeah.
let me open the door for somebody. Oh, you know,
Like,
this man is a gentleman, actually.
Oh, yeah.
But now it's, oh,
I can do it myself.
I could do it myself. Are you
Jeez.
calling me a cripple?
Yeah,
or if
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
woman, you know, you pig.
You pig.
You chauvinist.
Hmm.
And so, like, we're kind of,
We're at a point in time.
we're calling white black and black white. And it's, and then we're,
Yeah.
and now when things are going bad, now when the world around us burns, now when, you know, stuff happens and we're like, where are the good people? Where are those who will stand up for what is right? Where are those who are going to,
Yeah.
you know?
Because, you know, we're at a crossroads right now where it's like we're trying to redefine the standard. But, you know, if that standard isn't being met, no matter how hard we try, we got to try for it, you know? But if that standard isn't being met and we try to redefine it somehow, everything else just kind of falls down, you know? That's why it seems that, like, there's all these different things right now, and it seems like there's all these different, you know, changes being made, and people are freaking out. The world's going crazy, this and that. But at the end of the day, it's just our standardization is being redefined. It's being lost. What a gentleman.
What a guy.
Oh, what a
C.S.
pig.
Lewis.
A man that is trying so hard to be virtuous.
So, we have, going back then, let's go back to Aristotle.
Your whole psychology. What is it? Intro to psychology?
No, Intro to Psychology
Rock,
didn't
paper,
talk
scissors, shoot.
about Aristotle at all. No.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no. Aristotle is, we're talking philosophy, not,
Oh,
you got the wrong P.
the ology. Yeah. Yeah, I know.
You got the wrong ology.
I did just do that.
It's not even an ology, osophy.
It's an osophy.
It's an osophy.
You got me. I feel ashamed.
You should feel ashamed.
Anyways,
I brought the sense
Aristotle.
of disappointment in my
That was
voice.
the sound of your disappointment. Okay. Aristotle is definitely an interesting character, though.
Yeah.
And for good reason.
What do you know about him?
The whole, you know, obviously the Nicomachean Ethics, you know, his views on culture and society. But obviously, once again, the Nicomachean Ethics and how our virtues stem from this golden mean between deficiency and excessiveness.
So, some of you may not understand what
Yeah.
we're talking about here. Yeah.
Let's backtrack. I was just thinking, as soon as I said that, I was like, we should probably
Guys,
slow
I'm
down.
switching the channel real quick.
So, yeah. So Nicomachean Ethics, the name itself, you know, stems from, thank you, tea, because we're going to be here a long time unpacking this. Oh, wait, why am I getting more of this? Nicomachean Ethics. No, just let it simmer. That'll be fine. But yeah, Nicomachean Ethics stems from either Aristotle's son, or not his son, either his son or his father, Nicomachus.
Which one is it?
No, they literally don't know. It can either be because his son was named Nicomachus and his father was Nicomachus, so he either got it from his son or from his father. I don't think he ever specifically mentioned which one it was. But yeah, he always believed that happiness stems from this drive for virtue, and that's why he labeled it the whole Nicomachean Ethics. And what we're going to kind of dive into is the mean between, the excess and the deficiency of a trait, and how virtue, or the moral excellence, and the virtue that we're supposed to be striving for, ends up becoming this average between too much or too little.
Or it is the golden mean that you talked about there.
Yeah. This standardization that we should be just striving for.
So, can you give me an example?
An example.
An example of like what you're talking about here.
I could give
like
several examples.
Dude,
we could go all day. Several.
Seven?
Seven. Several.
Serval?
Several.
Cat?
So there is. Let's just dive into one. Courage. Courage.
Is courage a virtue?
Courage is a virtue.
Is it?
I would say yeah.
What if it's not?
What if it's not? Now you're trying to redefine. Now we're trying to redefine. Okay, courage is a virtuous trait.
Is it?
It is.
Okay, so let's take courage for example.
Well, I mean, are you trying to redefine?
I'm trying to redefine everything, guys. Up is down, down is up,
down
black
is
is
up,
white.
black is white. Yeah.
Courage. So he takes the virtue of courage. Let's say it's the mean right here. It's the average. It's in the center. What he says is that vice, the difference between a virtue and a vice, sponsored by honey. Wrong honey.
Honey bunny.
Virtue and vice. You have the virtue in the middle, and he says that on both sides of this is going to be vice. The virtue lays in the middle. If you have too much of this characteristic, we're going to say, then it becomes a vice. If you have too little of this characteristic, it's going to be a vice.
Mm-hmm.
So courage, we say that it is a virtue. No culture that you're going to look on in all of the world is ever going to applaud cowardice. We look at
certainly
courage.
hope not. Yeah.
We look at courage as a good thing. You want to stand up, you want to fight for your country. You want to protect your family. Like these kinds of things take courage.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have what it takes to whatever situation is thrown at you?
Yeah. But is it always good to have too much?
Well, what would be too much? If you have too
courage.
much courage, if you are a guy on the battlefield, for example, you're a soldier, you're so courageous. I'm not afraid of anything. Meet my little friend.
Well, then obviously the excessive trait of courage would be rash. To be rash.
You're rash.
Rashness.
You're so courageous. You're like, let me foolishly dive into danger all the time, not even thinking about this. I'm like, I got this.
Ultimate leads to your downfall. Well,
that's why it's a vice there. And then what if we take it too little?
To the deficiency.
To the deficiency of courage. We have too little of the courage, and that becomes cowardice, which we know is a vice.
Yeah. I would hope that somebody doesn't call me a coward, or somebody calls me irrational or to be rash. You would hope that somebody says, okay, this man's a man of virtue. This is a man that is courageous, but just the right amount.
Just the right amount. Okay, what else? What else you got? You got courage.
What else we got? I mean, I could throw a couple out if you want to throw a couple out.
Yeah?
What do you think?
What are you thinking? I'm just going to take a look at your notes.
Yeah, go for it. Wittiness. Wit. You would say that the golden mean, or wit, is the average, or the golden mean of what we should be striving for. To be witty.
To be witty.
To be witty.
To be witty is a good thing?
To be witty is a good thing.
Is it?
Well, yeah.
Okay, so the middle average, you're going to have somebody who has enough wit to keep a conversation going. They know how to make you laugh. They know how to entertain you. They know how to tell their jokes that may potentially make you groan, and you're like, really?
Yeah.
But inside you're like, that was funny. Actually, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Puns.
So we see two opposite sides of the spectrum.
So if you're not witty enough.
If you're not witty enough, you are a bore.
You're a bore.
You're a boring person.
Nobody wants to talk to you.
Yeah.
They see you coming and then they go the other way.
Yeah. It ends up becoming where you're just not a conversationalist at all. You're just awkward in conversation.
Like me.
Like me. But, yeah, you're a bore. And obviously that is a deficiency of what it is to be witty.
Okay, what if you have too much wit? Can you have too much wit?
Can you have too much wit?
Please tell us.
Can you have too much?
Please tell
of
us
any
if
of these-
you have
of
too
these
much wit, because we don't know. We don't have enough
I
wit.
was saying, like, being a clown, like, just like a buffoon.
You think so?
Well, I mean, to be really excessive in conversation, you're always talking. You're always like, and then, yeah, a buffoon. You end up becoming a buffoon of sorts, and it's like almost like too much.
Okay, what if you're always trying to get... So I guess, if you're trying to get the last word all the time...
The last word.
You're
Yeah.
like, oh, you know what? Actually, this.
And it ends up becoming
And you have too much of the wit.
too much of the
But
wit.
that becomes like a whole different thing in a way, kind of, because like it's leaning into another characteristic. You don't have tact.
You're tactless.
Tactless. I
Yeah.
guess that's a different thing. I don't know, dude. It's so
That is
difficult.
that is an
It's
interesting
difficult.
one. Wit.
Wit.
That was just something that was kind
If you understand Aristotle or like how this whole thing works, please tell us.
Yes. And
'Cause
if
we
you
don't know.
are Aristotle, please.
If you are Aristotle, we'd like to interview you.
We'd like to interview you, please. Back in time.
Okay.
Yeah. Humility.
Humility.
This is an interesting one.
Humility is a great one.
This is an interesting
So-
one.
What is humility?
Well, humility. What is humility, Vily? Tell me. What is humility?
No, that's why I asked you, so I could sip my tea. And then
Oh
you
man,
could
I wanted to
answer
sip
and-
my tea. Humility is I would say, the golden average of being, hubris on one side and the average between.
Well, that's the funny
Yeah,
thing.
that
Okay,
is
so
the
we
funny
take
thing.
humility. We say that humility is a good thing. We call humility a virtue.
We could say
Let's start
humility
from
is
there,
virtue.
the center. We say that it is good to be humble.
Mhm.
It is good to not think too much of yourself, not to, have this characteristic of pride or hubris, as we see across all cultures. Like they all have their stories of,
Of pure humility, of just absolute.
I'm talking about pride.
Oh,
Actually.
pride. Oh, my bad. Yeah.
Pride. Opposite. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like
Well,
the
yeah, the
Greek,
opposite of
the
humility.
Greeks, like the Iliad. You have like these tragic heroes all the time, and that was a huge thing.
And you see
Majority of the time, it's hubris gets the best of them. So you have this. It's too much.
yeah.
Like
Hubris is
oh,
the man's
sorry.
greatest downfall.
Yeah, they have no humility at all. They are not humble people.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I know everything.
Yeah.
I am so self-sufficient. I am good. I know more than you. You're like,
Yeah.
you have this pride. So this lack, we would say, of humility is the vice of pride. It is the vice, where,
That's interesting.
yeah. And we see like it's a bad thing across all cultures. Like they look down upon pride. And we see that humanity is punished in like every story that you take a look at because they were too prideful.
Yeah.
And that becomes their downfall. Now,
So would you say that it's like deficiency almost on both sides? Because either way,
good question.
it's a lose-lose.
So like, okay,
I think we just broke Aristotle here.
we broke Aristotle here. Look, because now here we just went to the opposite side of you have not enough humility, and that's pride. What happens if you have too much humility?
Also pride.
It becomes pride again.
It becomes
It's pride on both sides, guys. We broke Aristotle.
How does that work?
How does that work? How can you have too much humility?
Oh, it's like
That doesn't make sense.
we gotta sip on this one for a little bit.
Do you?
Having too much humility. Well, not really.
Okay,
but
have you ever encountered a person who has been
too generous,
too-
too
not even
humble.
generous? We're
Well,
too humble.
too humble.
Too humble.
Okay.
What does a person like that look like?
Well,
What does a person that is too humble look like?
one that
Have you ever encountered one?
there are some people
Some people.
to be too humble. What does too much humble look like?
Well, I guess, okay, so here's what it looks like. You're too humble,
And you're just like,
and it's a sort of different kind of pride.
It's a different kind of
pride that
it is a
comes
different
because,
kind of pride.
when you are humble, you can accept compliments, you can accept gifts and all these other things, but like you are not, I guess.
It is interesting.
Like, for
The
example, if I were to
deficiency.
say, Mark, you look good today. That's a great haircut.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
And that's it. Would that be pride in and of itself?
Is it?
Kind of. Not really. No.
Is it? Well, what if you go on to talk about yourself and you're like, oh, well, actually, yeah, thanks, man. I know. I style my hair all the time and it's like so good.
Well, I
and
mean
whatever.
I think that example is
Obviously.
still lies within the
But,
excessive.
okay, like the deficiency of
I feel
humility.
like, but
But,
say,
okay,
I'm just styling my hair. That's an excess. Oh,
No.
okay, yeah,
Yeah,
deficiency.
you're
I'm backwards right now. Okay, deficiency
yeah,
of humility.
It's difficult. It's abstract. So
Excess of
deficiency.
okay.
Now, excess of humility. You're so humble. Oh, no. Oh, I can't accept that compliment. Oh. Or like
Yeah.
I tried to give you a gift on your birthday. It's like the day you were born. You deserve this, maybe. Like
Yeah.
you're my friend.
I
You're
think
my
it's
friend.
difficult.
I want to give you a
Thank you.
gift.
This is 50 cents, but thank you. I'm gonna put this over here. 'cause
But
it's
okay,
50
a
cents.
person who is too much humility.
Yeah. I feel
So-
like that's, but like
It's
that's also a
difficult to define
deficiency. That's also like a deficiency of humility in and of itself. You know what I mean?
because it's a different kind of pride.
It
in a
is a
way.
different kind of
Take
pride
look-
in a
So
way.
like the only way I can really take a look at it and define it is if we go to scripture actually.
Yeah.
If we go to the biblical sense, you take a look. So we take a look and we see when Jesus was washing the feet of the disciples, right?
Mm.
He is washing their feet. This person who has been their master, their teacher, and now he is stooping down to the lowest of the low, like the position which the lowest of the lowest servants would actually take this position. You walk into the house and there is a person with a wash basin washing your feet to make sure that your feet are clean when you enter. Because in those days, you're walking through filth, you're walking through dust, you could be stepping in manure, all these things. So it's not a position for somebody. This is not a job for somebody who is, a master or a teacher.
Of course.
We see Peter. He says, Lord, you will not wash my feet. I can't accept this. You're too high. You're too good. I can't accept this.
Mhm.
So like we kind of see this, maybe what crossed his mind was, oh man, these guys, maybe the rest of them didn't get it. Maybe they were supposed to protest and say, oh, you're too good. No, don't. Or,
Mhm.
but like, I can't accept this. And we see, let's see, who was it? Temple.
Mhm.
Sometimes we show a servant's heart by accepting the service of others for us. If we only serve and refuse to be served, it can be a sign of deeply rooted and well-hidden pride. Man's humility does not begin with the giving of service. It begins with the readiness to receive it. For there can be much pride and condescension in our giving of service.
That is an interesting one.
I have another example like that would work really well in
Yeah.
this. So let's go back to America, the Dust Bowl, like during this time. So what's happening here?
Mm-hmm.
People are out of work left and right because like there's this huge, the Great Depression is going on. People are starving in places and so forth. There's a lack of jobs.
Mm-hmm.
The government comes up with a bunch of programs. We have FDR and the Great New Deal, and like all these programs are supposed to help, like give a stimulus to the economy of sorts. We're going to give you a job, Mark. We know that you have been laid off or whatever. We're going to give you a job. We're going to give you pay or whatever. Or we're just going to give you pay of sorts, actually. Like some of these programs were like just money because there was nothing to do.
And you can either choose to accept it or to not accept it.
You could choose to accept it and you can choose not to accept it. So you're going to either, man, there's so many ways to twist it.
Yeah,
So
no,
like,
there is a lot of ways
yeah,
to twist
like
it.
if I'm humble, I'm like, oh man, okay, I don't have work. Like I'm going to accept a handout. You're humble. You go and you accept this.
Yeah.
You go and accept this job to make sure that your family is fed.
Sure.
You have this humility. And
We're
what if,
accepting it? Yeah.
to
reject
or
it.
to reject it, you say, no, I cannot accept a handout, because we're like, okay, now it's kind of humility, but also pride at the same points, because your pride doesn't allow you to accept a handout, but you're not accepting a handout because you want to work for what you eat. You're like, no, I can't just,
It's like pride at different levels.
pride at a different level. Or if you're like, hey, I will accept this, but it's like a pride of entitlement.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. There's a lot of different ways to do that.
So many ways to twist it.
Yeah.
Man, we broke Aristotle.
I feel like it's definitely easier to look at it with a deficiency of humility than an excessiveness of humility.
Yeah.
Because
Excessive
obviously,
humility.
like,
It's
everybody would say, okay, the deficiency of humility is pride. You know, you're lacking that, and so you're prideful. But to wrap your head around the
excess of humility.
excess of humility.
Tell us what you think.
Tell us what you think.
Let us know.
Would you say that Jesus was too humble?
Would you say, is there such a thing as too humble?
Is there such a thing as too humble? Does it kind of go into the golden mean of Nicomachean Ethics?
Is Nicomachean, I can't even say it right. Nicomachean
Nicomachean Ethics.
Is it incorrect? Is the model wrong? Was
Mhm.
Aristotle wrong? Do you propose something different?
Let us know.
Yeah.
Is it always in the middle? You know, in a particular situation, would it be best to be more rash than
Well, that's
cowardice?
I guess that's the whole thing of, like, we're talking about virtue is not just one characteristic. Remember, we just talked about courage. We just talked about wit. We just talked about humility.
Mm-hmm.
In some cases, you know, like, maybe you need to have less, maybe you need to have more of a certain thing. And I guess it's a contextual thing, a situational thing sometimes, I guess.
Sometimes.
It could be, right?
Yeah.
But virtue it's not like you have it or you don't, but you're like, okay, well, you're exercising your virtue, you're exercising your excellence.
Mm-hmm.
You're striving to make sure that you, like, attain these characteristics, and you practice them, and you become a person of excellence.
Sure.
So your virtue is a mix of all these things that you're tying together,
Yeah.
and to exercise within situations. It's kind of like the human brain. Do you exercise 100% of your brain at all times?
No. Well, you should.
But why? You know, like those, it's a great, interesting movie. What is it? Limitless?
Mm-hmm.
You've seen it?
Yeah, of course I've seen it.
Yeah, and
They came out with a show, too, which was awful.
Ugh.
I didn't like it.
So we have this idea that limitless. People only exercise 20% of their brain. And, like, that's kind of the thing, you know, and people are like, oh, well, maybe we should find some way to exercise 100% of our brain. But if you really think about it, that's like, is that logical? Look, what does your brain do? You have different parts of your brain. One part is, like, for memory. One part is, you know, your logic and all these other things. Different areas of your brain are driving different things. In a situation, you may need to have the function of fight or flight come out, and like this portion of your brain lights up. In another situation, you're like digging through, you're taking a test, and you need to, you know, use the part of your brain that is like trying to find your short-term, or hopefully you've committed it to long-term memory.
Okay.
And like that's lit up at this point. If your brain, you've been using 100% of your brain 100% of the time, you're probably having a seizure.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of, I guess, a thing of efficiency.
Yeah.
It's dumb to think that you want to use 100.
It's selecting like different parts of your brain to be actually used, I guess, at a particular time. Yeah, I know. I see where you're coming from.
So, like, virtue, to exercise the best thing for the current situation.
Yeah.
What is required of me now? And what is the way that I can?
Yeah. I still feel like there needs to be that, once again, a degree, like a value, a standardized value
That's a sign
that
points.
is perfect, even amongst different situations. You know, like, I think I saw this from like another video, or from it was another video where they brought it up to, like, to be courageous in a particular situation, or brave, to be brave in a particular situation where you're seeing a person being robbed, and obviously this guy is much bigger than you. Like, are you going to be brave, try to fight this man, and eventually probably die, you know, because this man is much larger than you? Do you act rash in that situation, or do you look at the situation and say, okay, for me to be truly brave, I should probably call for help, call 911, and have them take care of it, you know? Once again,
What if you know martial arts? What if you are a 3 times black
Well,
belt
then-
in like jujitsu. all
Then
these
that
other
changes
things.
things, but that doesn't change the standardized value of bravery of itself. I just feel like there has to be that degree of almost perfection that we should be striving for in a given situation. If we were to kind of try and think of like, oh, maybe I should be a little bit more of this or a little bit less of this, I feel like there has to be that thing that is perfect,
That middle.
the degree of perfection.
That degree of perfection. A good miter.
A good miter. I see some good miters up there.
Do you?
Yeah,
Did you do those?
we did those.
Nice.
We built this rock climbing wall for children over here.
Guys, if you at some point later on, we're going to have we're going to take bets. We're going to bring in small children and have them compete at who can climb this wall
Who
fastest.
can climb this wall? We basically built a little mini rock, wood wall climbing wall.
It's not
wood,
rock.
wood
wall.
wood climbing wall.
Wood wall web.
Wood climbing wall instead of rock climbing wall. It's
The
a
wood wall of China.
wood wall of China.
Let's burn it.
Let's burn it. So in everything, there needs to be some moderation, and is moderation in and of itself a
So-
virtue?
I have a question.
Well, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
How do you know that you have a virtue?
How do you know that you have a virtue?
How do you know that you have a virtue?
That kind of goes back into the whole, comparison thing.
I
You know,
gave you my
how
light bulb.
I gave it back to you.
No.
I don't want it. No, I literally gave it back to you. You put it on the ground right there. You're holding it right now.
I can't count. 1
Dong.
to 2.
Yeah, but how can you claim that you are? How can you claim that you are virtuous? How can you?
That
claim
is the question. How do I know that I have bravery? How do I know I have this courage that we were just discussing? How do I know that I am humble? I
Yeah.
have humility and
Well,
I'm not prideful.
That kind of goes into the testing of it. How
The
can
testing
you?
of
How
it.
can you truly say that you are brave if you've never been tested?
Is
in bravery?
virtue if it has not been tested?
Is virtue if it has not been tested?
Can you know that you have this virtue if you have not tested it? So,
No.
Going to this example,
I feel like it's a strong no.
IKEA.
IKEA, 50 cents.
IKEA 50 cents. IKEA 50 cents. It's great.
It's a 50-cent light bulb.
Some 50 cent
You
light
love
bulbs.
these light bulbs, man.
Dude,
You
they're
were
great.
He was so excited showing me these light bulbs. I was
Listen,
like,
man,
wow.
The utility
They're
of these
probably
things
50
is
cents for a
phenomenal.
reason.
The utility of these things is phenomenal. Look, these lights have been lit for how many episodes now?
A whole 2 episodes.
Exactly.
But they're still lit. 50 cents. Anyways, yeah, go ahead.
So I went to IKEA and I bought these light bulbs, 18 of them. Do I know that they will produce light? I bought them for a certain function. I want them to to light up my house or light up the studio or whatever the reason, but I bought them for a purpose that they're going to shine a light of sorts. And that is the use that they're going to bring. That is the thing that they're going to do. Give a light. I don't know when I'm in IKEA, when I'm just looking at it in the box, that it works. Now, I know what it's made for. I know that when I bring it home and I put it in, it should, but I don't know for sure that it is going to give a light until I actually put it into the socket and I put the electricity through this light bulb and see whether it does or does not give a light.
You don't know that it gives off light until it has been tested.
You don't know.
That's a good analogy, Billy.
Thanks, man.
I'll
I
give you
thought
this
of it
one.
myself.
I'll
5
give you
minutes
this
ago.
one. You don't know until it has been tested.
So in the same way, we could say that
Go ahead.
we can say that our virtue, we can say that, courage. We have courage. We have humility. We have all, however many characteristics you want to name, whatever it is, fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
You can say that you have it, but we don't truly know that you have it until you actually go through the situation that it is going to bring it out. And at the same time, how do you grow your virtue? You have to exercise it in order to make sure that you concretely are making that virtue stick with you, that you are this man or this woman of virtue.
It is through this testing that makes our virtue even stronger. You know, how can we truly say that we are brave? It's so easy to say, oh, like, I'm humble or I am brave, but how can you truly say that you have the utmost bravery until you've been tested?
Yeah.
And then whenever you are tested, you're like, you just crumble because you haven't been tested prior. So it is through this testing that we see, you know, what our true colors are.
Until you have been tested, you don't know. I can look down on everybody that uses their phone all the time. I could look down on them and say, these people are so attached to their phones and things like that.
Phones and 50-cent light bulbs.
And I'm like, look at me. I'm not. I'm good. I'm above all that because I'm not so attached. Well, and then you take a look and it's like, I have no friends who actually text me. I have nobody to keep in contact with. It's like, actually, the reason that you don't is because nobody wants you.
I heard a quote. Well, actually, I think I wrote it down.
Did you?
I did.
That's good.
Charles Spurgeon. Trials teach us what we are. They dig up the soil and let us see what we are made of. You know, it is through this testing that, you know, we truly see if we really are brave, if we are really modest, if we, you know, are walking in humility. And to see, like, you know, where's this moderation coming in, you know? The testing of virtue.
Test your virtue.
Yeah. I think it's like, you know, so many people look down on a certain situation, you know, like, oh man, that was hard, or like this and that. But I feel like it's through this testing of fire, this testing that refines us who we are and greater strengthen this moral excellence.
Pray not for, what is it? How does the quote go? Pray not for ease.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably misquoting it and butchering it so bad.
But yeah.
Pray not to live an easy life, but pray for the strength to go through the difficulties.
We always want, like, the luxurious life, or we always want a life of ease. But is that always a good thing? Moderation, once again.
Humanity.
Because it always goes back into this moderation. Too much of a good thing is not good. Too much of a bad thing is not good either. Would you say that too much testing? Too much testing.
Too much testing.
Too much testing.
Too much testing. I don't know.
You just well. Do you think that would be a bad thing? Too much of a testing of bravery.
Test the bravery too much. Test it, and you'll break a person.
Exactly.
Test the person. I don't know.
That is an interesting one.
It's a very abstract concept that we're talking about today. But work, the testing, we're complaining, we're striving for, you know, retirement and so forth, and we're striving, you know, we're looking to paradise. We're looking to, hey, how can I ease my burden? How can I ease
my burden?
How can I go through life and try to do the bare minimum? And how can I, you know, live on an island? Like, if it's my dream, I want to just leave everything. I want to go to an island and I'm going to be fed, you know, the fruits of that island and the fish and so forth. Somebody's still going to have to pick the fruit. Somebody's still going to have to, you know, catch the fish.
Mm-hmm.
All these things.
To catch the fish.
But, and in some way, you could say, you know, like, you're never going to escape the work. You're never going to escape, I guess, the situation where, you know, your virtue grows. And should you want to? Or should you actually, you know, take a look, turn and face it and say, I'm going to take everything that you throw at me.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it. I'm going to
grow as a person.
I'm going to grow. I'm going to, you know, if I'm down in the hole, you keep on throwing dirt on me to bury me. I'm going to take that dirt and keep on stepping and stomping on it until I step up out of that hole.
Reach for the top.
Yeah.
I think virtue and all these traits of virtue, to strive for the top, you know, without this testing, we can't really see, you know, this pinnacle that we're always trying so hard to achieve. Yeah, virtue is very much needed, and especially this society today.
Yeah. Great topic.
Isn't it an excellent topic?
Test your virtue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to have, an even deeper discussion on this. Perhaps even like maybe some characters from the Bible that we can see to be virtuous people. I would definitely like to extend on this.
We
even more.
could take a look at this at some later point in time,
We
but
could.
I think we got a solid thing going here. Had a solid discussion here. And I think it kind of sort of wrapped up pretty well.
I
So-
agree. I agree.
That brings today's discussion to an end.
It does. Sadly, I think this is a really good discussion. Yeah.
I'm your host, Vily Klesnichenko,
And I'm your host, Mark Schlahovsky.
signing off.
Signing off. What did you bring to the table today?
That was good.
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 That was good.